Welcome to the Health Daily Show. I'm your host, Chitra Nabat. Joining us today is Payal Divakaran, partner 406 Ventures. Payal, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Chitra. It's great to be here and in Vegas.
Payal, 406 Ventures, tell us about the firm. What's unique and different about your firm and investing approach?
So 406, we're a Boston-based venture capital firm. We've been around 17 years, always focused in the same ways. We're Series A investors, lead or co-lead Series A rounds. 50% of our investing activity is healthcare, and I co-lead that practice with Liam Donahue. And we also do cybersecurity and data and cloud. But I think our name is pretty interesting, actually. It's actually .406, which is Ted Williams' batting average in 1941, the highest ever achieved. When he was sort of swinging the bat that year, he said, I'm not going to swing everywhere, I'm going to swing where I have the highest chance of getting on base. And he put probabilities in the strike zone. And so it's a good analogy for venture. We're not going to invest everywhere. We're going to invest where we have expertise, operational expertise, et cetera. And you see that in our healthcare investing. We were just always ahead of the puck, investing in Iora's Series A 10 years ago, Able 2 Series A 9 years ago, Redox before people were talking about interoperability, Heartbeat before people were talking about virtual care in cardiovascular. So I think that's a bit of the trademark of 406.
Let's get into innovation and competitiveness. We're in a volatile market where something recessionary. VC funding is down by almost 50% to last year highs. It's taking VC firms longer to raise less money. How do you demonstrate innovation and competitiveness to your LPs?
Yeah, well, this market it's brutal on later stage VC funds because they're dealing with a lot of issues in the portfolio, and there's just not a lot of great investing activities with all the sort of issues on valuation between the private and the public markets. We're an early stage fund, and so we get to invest in the long arc of healthcare. Now, our investment hold periods are going to persist any market cycle, and so that's sort of the good news for our strategy, and we're sort of a more steak than sizzle sort of fund. We've just consistently had a strategy where we hold discipline on valuation, discipline on our thesis areas, discipline on what we're trying to do in this mission in healthcare, and I think that's really sort of paid off for us.
How does that discipline show up when it comes to founders and innovation and competitiveness? Because a lot of VC firms promise not only giving capital, but adding a lot of quote unquote value.
Yeah. Well, first, I think it starts with culture and reputation first and foremost, and I think that's been something that we've been really focused on for all 17 years. But you mentioned value add. The best way I can talk about it is an example. We didn't just, for Redox, which I mentioned in the interoperability space, we didn't just introduce a customer. We actually sat there with the company through all the planning of when we introduced Brigham and Women's Hospital, their first enterprise hospital customer. How would you approach that conversation? We sat in the meetings between Redox and Brigham, and then we helped the company figure out how to construct that first contract. And then we also talked to the Brigham about how they should think about adopting an early stage company. So we were sort of an extension of this team for that first enterprise customer in so many ways. And then, I think it's also just the type of founder that we want to work with and we choose. We're always picking founders that want to partner with us and want us to be an extension of the team. If you want us to just sit back, that's not the type of VC that we think we are, nor can we be helpful to you in those ways. So again, with Redox, I remember that CTO and founder calling me and saying, I just had product downtime, 2 customers affected, it's the first time we've ever dealt with this, what do we do? Late at night, picking up that phone and getting that call, and I said, all right, let's figure this out together, and we figured out the remediation plan, we figured out how to handle the customer communication. So those are the types of founders that we look for and where we think we can mutually be successful.
Getting more into founders, what are the attributes, the metrics that cause you to invest? Take us a little bit into your playbook, into your algorithm.
Yeah, so everything that we're doing is enterprise health. All of our companies very specifically are either selling to payers or to hospital systems. You won't see us do direct to consumer healthcare. You won't see us do sort of pharma or med device or anything like that. So when we live in this enterprise healthcare world, we are just maniacal about sort of the hard dollar ROI. And this playbook, or sort of this thing that we believe in, that I give credit to my partner Liam Donahue around, is how do you really develop that payer ROI as an early stage company, and he's done this over and over in behavioral health. We believe it's sort of getting the early customer adoption with a single payer, talking through the sort of the hard dollar ROI with them, getting them to co-publish with you and putting their name there, making them look like a hero and saying, look, here's how we sort of delivered outcomes for you, and then taking that to other payer customers, and just sort of rinse and repeat. So we look for that evidence of the founders the ROI, and that there's going to be the right early customer to really pave this path forward for companies.
Value-based care, there's a lot more hype than action.
Yeah.
Healthcare startups are at a continuum, right? Fee for service, fee for value, value-based care. How does this impact your thesis and where you invest?
Yeah. Well, first let's start with data. I mean, in 2020, 41% of healthcare payments went through some sort of value-based arrangement. Now, to your point, there's varying definitions of what that actually means. So I love talking about this concept. In our portfolio at 406, we have 3 companies that are truly value-based care in the sense that they are taking on full risk. There's WellBe Health as a PACE program, Wayspring, which takes on full risk for SUD populations, and then OnBelay, which is one of the ACO REACH license holders. But the most of our companies are in fee for value. They're basically saying, look, I deliver something to patients with better outcomes at a lower cost. So pay me something different than fee for service. Pay me sort of a constructive rate that we can both agree on, that's sort of a win-win for everyone. Equip is a great example of that, delivering virtual care for eating disorders, right? There is no real fee-for-service CPT code around that, and so they're really creating that, and I like to call that fee-for-value. But let's be real, there are other companies too that are fee-for-service and thinking about what are the right times to really jump into fee-for-value or value-based care. So I'd say, Heartbeat Health and virtual cardiovascular care, or Diana Health and maternity. Those spaces aren't, in my opinion, ready for full value-based care or for full risk. And so I think those companies are wisely sort of moving along that economic journey, and then when the moment is right, they're going to be value-based care.
Payal, quickly on leadership. In life, business, there are rules, codes, norms to how things are done. Where have you been a code breaker in career or business, and how did you do it?
Yeah, so I'd probably say there's 2 areas that I can think of. The first is, look, I've done nearly every job prior to being a VC. I was trained as an engineer, as an investment banker in tech. I was in private equity as an associate. I started a company, I worked at a company, and I came to venture capital with all of that. So I sort of have this 360-degree perspective that I think is pretty helpful and interesting in venture. But where, I probably really broke the code is, a lot of folks that you'll see in venture either started their own VC firms or they had a great operational win and then they came into VC. I worked my way up. I started in this industry from the bottom as an associate and got promoted through the ranks until I became a partner at 406 and now, co-lead a practice. And so I think that's sort of been my journey.
Payal, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Chitra. Great to be here.